So apparently, presidential rematches are usually a sign of some big shakeups to come. Let's talk about some of these over the years. The 1800 campaign of Thomas Jefferson and John Adams marked the first peaceful transfer of power in the nation's short history and led to a major change in the system for selecting presidents. Even though Jefferson soundly defeated the incumbent on his second go-around, an awkward electoral college tie between Jefferson and his running mate Aaron Burr delayed his victory and led almost immediately to the ratification of the 12th Amendment. The original text of the U.S. Constitution had provided each member of the Electoral College with 2 votes, with the leading vote getter then becoming president and the runner-up becoming vice president. But after 1800, presidential electors cast votes for slates of president and vice president, the system that persists to the present day. So we had a whole new amendment ratified after our first presidential rematch between 2 people who had already gone up against each other. The next rematch in 1828 was between John Quincy Adams and Andrew Jackson. Jackson easily won the rematch, but in 1828, both the established method for nominating candidates and the party system fell apart. The Adams-Jackson rematch marked the last gasp of that era without a formal nominating process. 4 years later, the parties officially replaced the fading congressional caucuses with national nominating conventions and solidified the so-called second party system. Again, another rematch where literally the whole entire system fell apart after John Quincy Adams and Jackson had a rematch, y'all. Okay? Are you picking up what I'm putting down here? Let's talk about this next rematch, because it didn't just happen once or twice. 1892, pitting former President Grover Cleveland of New York against the man who had beaten him previously, incumbent President Benjamin Harrison. Cleveland won round 2, becoming, as yet, the only person to return to the White House after losing the office. And let me tell you, we pray that he continues to be the only person who wins after losing and coming back a second time, if you get what I'm saying here, because, oh, Lord, oh, God, oh, please don't do this to us. Please don't let that orange man win again. Please, please. Cleveland won round 2, but the Harrison-Cleveland rematch also led to major changes. Republican leaders realized that they could no longer rely on their loyal army of regular voters. In the next campaign, they appealed to traditionally Democratic constituencies, sent out campaign literature in dozens of languages, raised millions of dollars from private donors, and reached out to interest groups. Their, quote, campaign of information, end quote, heralded a new kind of politics centered less on party and more on candidate, which is kind of what we see today, right? Back in the day, it was more focused on the party. What party are you voting for and who the party decides to push out. After this third rematch in our history between Harrison and Cleveland, that's when we moved into the era of focusing more on the candidate versus the party. Kind of where we are today, right? And then finally, the most recent rematch came in 1956 when former Illinois Governor Adlai Stevenson took a second shot at Dwight D. Eisenhower amid a dramatic transformation in the communications landscape. In 1948, only 3% of American homes had television sets. By the time of the Stevenson-Eisenhower rematch, 80% were equipped with television, an instrument that was permanently altering the nation's entertainment preferences and habits of acquiring information. Now, Adlai Stevenson, he was not with it. He was known for being a great orator and, being able to speak to people, the people. So he was not feeling this whole new generation of like TV. It's so funny, like when the newfangled technology comes in, and it's just so interesting to hear about the people who like didn't get on the boat. You know what I mean? Or who were like, that TV. We don't need that. That's for like it's interesting the people who can't see the future that's coming down the pipe and the people who can see it and jump on board. It reminds me when I first started acting so long ago. I took my first acting class and actually my second acting class. And in that class, we learned about like headshots and, like the marketing, like the business side of being an actor. And at the time we were just at the transition. I'm dating myself. We were just at the transition from black and white headshots into color headshots. And I remember like we were talking about headshots and some people were asking my teacher like, hey, what's up with these headshots? Like, is color the way? Should we be doing these digital colored headshots? And he was like, psh, colored headshots. No, that's just a passing fad. You don't have to worry about it. Make sure you get yourself some good old tried and true black and white headshots. And guess what happened, y'all? Colored headshots became the wave. I mean, we still are using color headshots today. If you showed up with a black and white headshot, people would be like, did you come from the 1990s? Where is this coming from? And then they would be like, are you okay? What's happening? We can't see any detail. So it's just always so interesting to me, the people who can't see the future. And Adlai Stevenson was one of those, partly because he benefited. He was good at speaking in front of people, so he benefited from that. So when this election came, this rematch came between him and Eisenhower on the flip side, he jumped at using the new form of media, TV. This fool did all kinds of cool little funny ads and cute little things and and really utilized it, and he won. And that set the stage for TV to really become a part of future presidential elections. And obviously today, it's still a huge part of presidential elections. In the next election in 1960, Adlai Stevenson was still the darling of the party. They still wanted him to run again, but they ended up going for John F. Kennedy, who we know, Hollywood good looks. He knew all the people in Hollywood. So, he was one that was chosen and he won, right? So if this trend continues of rematches between presidents creating upheaval in politics, then what do you guys think is going to happen after this election in 2024?